What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Listen, man, day 12 of the Diddy trial. And I must say, out of all the days that Diddy was on trial, man, I think today was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like it kind of all kind of came together. You know what I mean? Like we done heard so much stuff, so much sad, ruthless, horrible stuff that allegedly Diddy did, man. And today it seemed like, wow, it really hits because it's like, this guy's a really, really terrible person. Like I already thought Diddy was a terrible person. You know what I'm saying? Even before this, not horrible, but I know he was like a bad dude. You know what I'm saying? Even before this trial. But during this trial, man, it's like this guy's evil. And after today, it seemed like, wow. You know what I mean? And I said, you know, and I'm gonna get my reaction more, but you know, I just want to play a reaction to the to trial today and also, you know, give like who was on the stand. You know, one of Diddy's assistant, man, Mia. Well, her name's not really Mia. Diddy's like that's like a cover up for her real name. She was on the stand today, man, and her testimony was it was very appalling. You know, even though we didn't heard some of almost the same stuff, it just seemed like it's almost seemed like I was in trial today. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking on the Twitter page of Inner Press. This guy who's in court and he's doing a real good job, man. Follow him on Twitter in Inner City Press. And just reading that stuff, man, it's like wow, you know. But let's read and then I get my reaction after the video of news report that was in trial. But let's read and see kind of like almost a summary of what happened in court today about what Mia's testimony, what she said. But first, let's read a summary of Mia's testimony. Then we'll play a reaction to a news report that was in trial. Let's get into it. So Mia, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, man. Mia is not her real name. Her Mia is like I guess like a cover up for her real name, and she's a friend of Cassie's. So closing out today, man, humiliation and violence, man. Mia testified that sometimes Combs treated her like his best friend or working partner, and other times treated her like a worthless piece of crap, and at times would humiliate her in front of others, threaten her job, throw things at her, and she felt terrified and embarrassed when Combs was violent with her. Mia spoke about a time where Combs slammed the bathroom door to her on her arm multiple times after he took off with her phone and threatened to use anything incriminating he found on the device against her. Wow. The jury saw emails Mia sent to other staff members after the incident. So the sexual assault. With her voice dropping to a near whisper, Mia testified that Combs sexually assaulted her multiple times while she worked for him. Mia said Ventura, meaning Cassie, was not present when the assaults occurred and she never told her about them. The first instance was in New York for Combs' 40th birthday, Mia testified. Another instance Mia described on the stand was at Combs' Los Angeles home, she said. Mia described two other instances where she testified that Combs raped her at his home in Los Angeles. She testified that she never initiated sexual contact with Combs or told him she wanted to have sex with him. Combs couldn't say no to Combs. Mia said the sexual assaults were always sporadic and didn't follow a pattern and happened when Combs didn't have a girlfriend around. She said her dynamic with Combs was one with no boundaries. She said she didn't feel like she could tell Combs no and testified that she was afraid that she would become a target if she did. He would fire me and ruin my future and somehow twist the story into making me look like a threat. Mia said she also testified that she was always afraid of being physically harmed by Combs if she ever told him no about anything, not just sex. Didn't know she could report alleged sex assaults to police. Mia testified that she didn't think reporting the times she said Combs sexually assaulted her to the police was an option. Mia said she based that partly on some previous interactions she had with police officers. I didn't know that he had to tell the bad things that happened to you if nobody else saw, she said, adding that it's the most shameful thing of my life. Mia said, absolutely. Did not want to be talking about the sexual assaults, but said she felt she had a more obligation to share these experiences. It's the most traumatizing, the worst thing that's ever happened to me, she said. Wow. Wow, man. That's crazy. Not being in the court, man, and seeing it on TV, man, to see her facial expressions, you know what I'm saying, is like, I wish we could see it, You know what I'm saying? But then again, it's like these horrific things that happen to her. It's like, do you really want to see her cry and be all sad on the stand and see her body language? Do we really want to see that? You know, and just reading this stuff, man, it's like, wow, this guy really was a terrible person. You know what I'm saying? And like I say about other celebrities, man, like I always say, like we don't know these people. You know, we see these people on TV's interviews and blog sites, stuff like that, but we don't really know these people behind closed doors. You know, so just reading this right here, Diddy assaulted another person besides Cassidy. It's crazy, man. But before I continue to get my full reaction, um, let's listen to this news report, man. For a news report that was inside the courtroom. Let's go.
Long crime reporter who was in that courtroom for the testimony of Mia. Elizabeth, so good to see you. Such an important witness, right? Because this is somebody who is going by a pseudonym. This is alleged victim number 4 in this case. And she has described not only what her working relationship was like with Sean Combs, what this environment was like, but she claims that she, was a victim of both physical and sexual abuse. Talk to us about what Mia has said so far.
Yeah, absolutely, Jesse. So yeah, Mia came onto the witness stand right after Deontay Nash. So she comes in, and I'm going to be very kind of careful as far as how I'm describing her, because she is testifying under a pseudonym, and you can tell a little bit inside the courtroom why she is doing that. When she walks inside the courtroom, she keeps her head down. She doesn't look towards the defense table. She doesn't really look at us in the gallery. She just makes, again, a beeline to the witness stand. And even while she's testifying, Jesse, she's very soft-spoken. She's very quiet often at times. So you can feel just her apprehension just about everything as far as testifying goes. Even while answering the prosecution's questions, she's keeping her head down from what I can see over in the gallery. But you can just feel just the nervousness from her as far as testifying. And even when she gets off the stand, she doesn't look at the defense table. She just walks past the gallery. Her family and her support system go right after her, and then she goes over into a private room. But just as far as just some of the testimony that she had talked about today, she did describe that Diddy did take violence out on her too. Mia described that Diddy would throw things at her. He would throw her against the wall. One time he even slammed her arm into a door, and then even sexually assaulted her more than once.
Yeah, and let's just wait for this siren to go down. Very, very busy street. This is somebody we had anticipated, right? Because she's important for multiple reasons. She's important not only to corroborate what Cassie Ventura has said, but if you're talking about a pattern of abuse towards women, put aside the sex trafficking count for, I hear playback in my ear, by the way, putting aside the sex trafficking count for Cassandra Ventura, what we're also talking about is the racketeering charge. And we just got word that prosecutor Madison Smizer said her direct examination is likely going to take the rest of the day. What do you anticipate she's going to say, Elizabeth, from what we've heard so far?
Well, I definitely think they're going to get into more of just the violence that Mia had witnessed while working for Diddy, but also being Cassie's best friend, a role that she still has to this day. The two are really close friends, something that Deontay Nash even confirmed while he was testifying. But yes, the direct examination is expected to last throughout the day. Even right before I came out to chat with you, Jesse, there was a little kind of angst, I would say, from the defense, because essentially the government is saying that Mia has to be off the stand by the weekend. So tomorrow is Friday, so they're hoping that they're able to finish her direct examination today, go over to the cross tomorrow. But the problem is that sometimes the cross examinations do take maybe twice as long as the direct testimony, and it's been a kind of a sticking point that a lot of us have been kind of noticing, especially just sitting in the gallery. But Mark Agnifilo kind of took a little bit of offense to just being given a time frame as far as how long this cross-examination goes. And the thing is, Jesse, he's not going to even be the one doing the cross-examination. It's actually going to...
Yeah, I noticed that too, that the prosecutors, they be telling the judge like these witnesses got to catch flights and stuff like that, giving them the defense the time limit to really cross-examine them. You know what I'm saying? And hearing Mia's testimony, I think the defense, man, they really need to really do a good job on really, you know what I'm saying, discrediting her. You know what I'm saying? Because today, man, Mia's testimony, I mean, it hit. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not in the courtroom, but her testimony kind of hit. Like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if they're gonna finish, but if they're gonna finish tomorrow, they really need to hit it on the head of discrediting her and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Going to be Brian Steele doing the cross-examination against Mia, or for Mia, I should say. But the defense was pretty upset about it because they felt like the government was telegraphing the time frame for witnesses, especially since the government said that Mia needed to be off the stand. But from the government's point of view, they're essentially saying this is all for logistics purposes. If we're expecting Mia to not be off the stand by the weekend, then we have to pause our flight scheduling and all of that for the next witnesses that are going to be following up after her. But it seems like from the defense's perspective, they were just really kind of offended just about the time frames that they were given. But the judge kind of pointed out that, the government is doing this, but they're not doing this as a way to kind of slight the defense. They're doing this as kind of a common courtesy for those logistics purposes. And the judge kind of seemed like he took offense to it as well, too, what the defense was telling him. He was saying that it's common courtesy, and that even the judge wanted to know these things as far as how long the direct will last, possibly how long the cross-examination will last. And so it seems like kind of a sticking point where the defense may feel like they are being kind of constrained to a certain time frame. But there's never been a moment so far that the judge was like, okay, you got to wrap up this cross-examination after an hour. You got to wrap this up in 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. So really, they can just have a free go and just really ask all the questions, maybe questions that they didn't need to ask, but will continue to ask because they have to cross-examine their witness.
I got to talk about Deontay Nash. So obviously we'll continue the conversation with Mia, and there's a lot to break down with our panel of guests. Deontay Nash, important witness, celebrity stylist, right? And he had testified that he was, him and Mia, the only people that actually stepped in to actually intervene in Sean Combs allegedly assaulting Cassandra Ventura, talked about the threats that Combs made towards Cassandra Ventura, talked about that she didn't want to be a part of freak-offs. Very, very important witness. But then it was time for cross-examination today. I wasn't entirely sure what the cross was about and what were the points they were making, other than the fact I think he's still not only in touch with Cassie, but maybe even supplied her the wardrobe that she wore in court. And I think he was still maintaining some sort of communicative relationship with Sean Combs only until a few years ago. So it becomes a question if all these things happened to him and Cassie, and he claims he was also attacked by Combs, that this might go to his credibility. But where exactly did the cross-examination go today of Deontay Nash?
Well, the cross-examination, just honestly, quite frankly, was all over the place this morning. It's first thing in the morning. It was just kind of a lot this morning, I should say. Even just starting off, Xavier Donaldson tells Deontay Nash, "Good morning, how are you?" And Deontay Nash still has that sass, which I absolutely love. And he responded, "Blessed." And so just as far as just kind of the incidents that occurred when it came to the violence, they brought up the bed frame incident. And that was something that Mia testified as well today, too, where they were explaining that they were all over at Cassie's apartment. It was Deontay, it was Mia, it was Cassie. They were helping her pack for this trip. And then all of a sudden they hear a knock or a banging on the door. And it was Diddy looking for Cassie. And so essentially Diddy kind of picks Cassie up from where she is. He throws her down. He's essentially attacking her in front of her friends, her stylist. But also Mia is still working for Diddy at this point. But essentially, at this point, Mia and Deontay do step in. As far as Deontay is concerned, Deontay jumps on Diddy's back. Diddy throws Deontay to the ground. Then when Deontay's on the ground, Mia jumps on Diddy's back to kind of stop him. Then all of a sudden, Cassie is essentially on the ground because she had hit her head and busted her head open on this really pointy, sharp bed frame. There was blood everywhere. It was something that even Mia testified again to today. But just as far as the responses, as far as the response is concerned, I should say, that this was just kind of a really big sticking point, I feel like, as far as this particular incident, because it was so violent, because Cassie drew blood in this incident, or not drew blood, but not necessarily, but instead blood was gushing from her head. Mia had to go and get towels. And what ended up happening was a call was made, and essentially Cassie was taken to a plastic surgeon, and they were told that Cassie was drinking during this and that it wasn't a violent encounter.
The crazy thing is, man, these rich people, man, they got their own private doctors on call 24 hours. So I wonder how much these doctors or physicians getting paid, man. Like, it's crazy.
That had happened, that had caused this type of Nash or gash, I should say, as far as just the blood and the amount of blood that was taken, or the amount of blood, I should say, that just gushed from her head, essentially. And so they lied, or not lied, but they essentially said that this incident was because Cassie was drinking. She fell down and hit her head. So that was in regards to just the bed frame incident. But yes, Jesse, to your point, it was definitely one of those sticking out moments, especially because you finally see people stepping in, even kind of in a way attacking Diddy for the most part, to get him off of Cassie. But even as far as the end of the cross-examination is concerned, yes, Xavier Donaldson was really asking Deontay Nash just about his communications with Diddy in the years even after he stopped working with them professionally. So this was around kind of the 2019 timeframe. We see an exhibit photo of this text message between Deontay and Diddy was upset that Deontay didn't tell him that Cassie was seeing the trainer. And who was the trainer? Well, the trainer is Alex Fine, her now husband, who she just had her third child with. And so Diddy used this text message to kind of ask how Cassie was doing. And I think the defense was kind of pointing out that that Diddy still cared about Cassie even after their relationship, because again, this was 2019. They broke up in 2018. All the D names. Deontay reached out to Diddy about Kim Porter's death and even Andre Harrell's death. Andre Harrell was a central figure in Diddy's life. He was somebody who had mentored him, and you could arguably say that Andre Harrell is kind of the reason that Diddy got to the point where he is as far as success is concerned. Maybe Diddy doesn't think that, but really you could kind of argue that in a way. But then we see another text message kind of going back in time a little bit, this one from January 30th of 2016. And this is where the cross-examination ends, where they were kind of implying that Cassie was secretive. She didn't tell Deontay, who she considers to be a best friend, just about the freak-offs, that he didn't know about these freak-offs until 2013 when they were at just a hotel together, they were hanging out together, and Diddy was threatening to release these sexually explicit videos of him, and just how it kind of ties back to Deontay saying, like, girl, let him release these videos because he's on them too. It kind of relates to that. And so they ended the cross-examination where Xavier Donaldson asked, "You deeply care for Cassie?" And Deontay responded, "Correct. And she kept major secrets from you." And Deontay Nash, in his Deontay Nash way, was like, "Well, I keep secrets from her too. We don't have to tell each other everything," which, do best friends have to tell each other every single aspect of their lives? I mean, not necessarily. It's not necessarily holding a secret, but I feel like what the defense was trying to point out, that this was this big secret that she wouldn't even tell her closest friends that these types of things even happen.
By the way, before I let you go, Elizabeth, you have Deontay Nash, you have Mia. How is the jury reacting to this testimony?
Well, let me tell you, Jesse, today for Mia's testimony, it was a packed courtroom. And so it was really kind of hard to see because of all the bodies in front of me, just their reaction to everything. But so far, it seems like from what I can see, and that's really kind of the tail end of the jury box, is just that these jurors are doing what they've been doing for the past couple of weeks. Is they're taking notes, they're listening. I couldn't see if there was like an emotional reaction, especially as Mia was kind of talking about the bed frame incident, because for Mia's point of view, it seemed like she was very upset recalling this particular piece of testimony. So I couldn't tell if there was an emotional reaction from the jury. And even from Diddy's side over on the defense table, I could barely see his reaction to things. In between heads, sometimes I would see him jotting down notes or shaking his head, that type of thing, especially when it came to Mia flat out saying that Diddy had sexually assaulted her more than once. But as far as just the jury's reaction overall, it's really hard to tell sometimes with them.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we have a question that came in on YouTube from L.
I wonder if that would mean anything. Like she just said, like the jury is not like really giving any type of I don't know, emotional, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like she said, it's kind of hard to tell how the jury is really feeling, because you got to remember, like the last few weeks, the jury is hearing like Diddy just a horrible person. He's abusing Cassie, abusing the assistants and stuff like that. Now he just allegedly raped another assistant. You know what I'm saying? So hearing these horrific things, is they like they getting numb to it? I'm not sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like they tired of hearing all this, or what? I'm not saying they getting tired of, but I'm just like, how they really feeling about this whole situation? You know what I'm saying? Because every witness, almost every witness, and almost every day, it's like somebody getting abused, getting beat up, blood, you know what I mean, and drugs. Like, it's crazy.
spelunker. Is anyone else acting shocked? Is anyone acting shocked by all of this in the courtroom? His mom, his kids, the jurors? Does Diddy make any noises or movements? So you're kind of giving us a perspective on what we should be seeing in that courtroom and what we're expecting. Elizabeth, I know you have to head back in there. Thank you so much, as always, for your great reporting, your great detail.
Listen, so my reaction, man. Listen, like day 12 right now, and listen to me, not really listening, but like reading on what she said in the courtroom. It was very horrific, man. It was already horrific seeing what he did to Cassie and hearing some of the stuff that he did to her. But then again, it's like I can say that, but also like she wanted some of those freak offs. Like Cassie set up some of those freak offs. So it's like, could I blame Diddy 100% on him and Cassie's situation? I can't. I can't say 100%. But on this situation right here with Mia, yeah, man, Diddy was wrong. You know what I'm saying? He raped her a few times, allegedly raped her a few times. And, you know, and it's like these assistants, they taking drugs with Diddy. They fighting Diddy allegedly, you know what I'm saying? Jumping on Diddy back and stuff like that. You know, and also Mia, she worked like 4 days, 5 days straight without sleeping, which is crazy. But it wasn't like, yeah, she worked those days for Diddy, but she said she chose that. She chose not to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a big deal. But one thing that I want to say and put in right here before I go is that all these assistants, they continue to stay and work. Because Mia said she didn't want to lose her job because this is a big deal working for P. Diddy. And she figured P. Diddy would blackball her from working anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not blaming her, but it's like you have to put in consideration, like, this guy allegedly raped you multiple times, hit you. And also in Mia's testimony, I think the Wi-Fi something wasn't working or something. She walked in to talk to Diddy, and she was PMSing, and there was blood coming down her leg, and Diddy hit it with a pan or something because she was making spaghetti or something like that. You know what I mean? So this guy was terrible. Like Diddy was terrible, man. But they continue to stay and work for this guy. You know what I'm saying? And I know people probably can say, okay, if they leave, Diddy gonna find them and beat them up or blackmail them or stuff like that. But I'm like, man, you got to go to the police. You know, and I'm not in this situation, but I'm just saying, this guy allegedly raped you multiple times and you continue to stay. And also, you were Cassie's best friend, and you didn't even tell Cassie. You didn't even tell Cassie that this guy was raping you, having sex with you, and you already know all the stuff that he was doing to Cassie. Well, I ain't gonna say all, but most of the stuff that he was doing to Cassie, beating her up and stuff like that. And you ain't tell Cassie none of that stuff that was going on. And that's supposed to be your best friend. I'm just saying. That's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So, you know, almost at every video, man, I give you my what I think. So right now in today's testimony, day 12, before they even cross-examine Mia tomorrow or Monday, Diddy's guilty 60%. He's 60% guilty. You know, and I said this before. I said this before that I think he's going to be guilty no matter what. You know what I mean? He's going to be guilty on the sex trafficking or racketeering. He's going to be guilty on something. Now, if he get him on sex trafficking, he ain't getting out of jail. But right now, just off everything the jury's hearing, I think they're going to find Diddy guilty no matter what. I think they're going to find him guilty. No, doesn't matter the charges. They still gonna find him guilty anyway because Diddy's a horrible person, so they're gonna find him guilty of that. Now they shouldn't. You should find him guilty on the charges that's being what he's being charged with. But I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of stuff they hear, the juries, they gonna find him guilty. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. But cross-examine hopefully starts tomorrow, and we gonna see what they do. You know. But that's all I got for now. Listen, y'all tell me what y'all think about this whole case, man. What y'all think about today? Mia testimony. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all have a good day.